All right, guys, here we are at the final round of the Molten International Tournament. We've got Getting Back Cash, our Doomkin Cleave versus Never Kicked, which is the RPS. This game should be probably the most epic one we've seen. I love watching this Doomkin comp fight, but the RPS has also been very, very dominant. They've actually played very slow, methodical wins, whereas the Doomkin Cleave has been just blowing everyone out of the water. So I'm really interested if two teams line up against each other on this Blade's Edge map.
That's what I was about to say, man. We've got the most defensive team, I think, out of the whole tournament. The RPS Never Kicked, going up against probably the most offensive base team, which is Getting Back Cash. So we're going to have to see, man, if this RPS is going to take a more offensive take on the game, or whether they're going to try and pull off this tail, the tail playstyle against what is probably the highest damage comp we've seen all tournament.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, I think they're going to try to hit this Boomkin quite a bit, try to lock this guy down, because if he starts being able to do what he wants to do to this team, it's going to be really scary business for the RPS, which have been able to play very defensively against a lot of the teams that they've been fighting, even the fire play they fought last time. But this time Weeball finds himself in a very, very bad position, down on the bottom, with the two casters being able to pour the damage into him. He gets pretty low, and the dots immediately just keep spreading. They put a big old solar beam on Weeball, but I don't know if that's quite enough to take him down this time. But we'll see. Pretty strong.
Sorry, you're going. You go.
Pretty strong opening burst from Doomkin Cleave, as I'm calling it, but things seem to be sort of normalizing a little bit now, and it might be the RPS's time to go on the offensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty surprised that the Doomkin Cleave hasn't spread that many dots at all, really, to Oladota. The Shaman from Never Kicked has basically been able to sit back. Not much pressure on him at all, although Shadow Priest dots finally coming out to land on him, as well as that Starfall coming out, and this is where we always see that huge spread damage coming out, but the Druid is taking a hell of a lot of damage. Blind goes out onto Mystric, but the Druid is still really dropping, man. Oh my god, he's taking so much damage. Yeah, this is the kind of pressure that I really feel the RPS, they need to force this, the dots are all dropping off their team now. This is what they really want, and Oladota is going to be able to pick up Weeball, I think, fairly easily. Bloodfang sitting on 100%, Oladota sitting on 100%, and not very many dots out because of that pressure that they forced onto the Druid.
Yeah, man, that counter pressure was wicked. Druid has got some balls, though. He was sitting there casting Rigos with like 5% health left. He was like, no, I gotta get this heal. I can't go back for him. Healer's blinded. It's not me. And now the pressure seems to be flipping over to Hindycow. Druid throwing out some Cyclones, trying to peel a little bit while continuing that damage. But yeah, the counter pressure of the RPS is pretty scary for the Doomkin Cleave. They did have that huge Starfall, brought the RPS all about down to around 50% health, but they didn't. The pressure didn't really continue like it has in the past. They've been really hitting the Boomkin a lot, really limiting the amount of free casting he can get done, which limits the damage. But we got a Starfall with mushrooms planted. They're getting out of there. Oladota does get knocked down. Looks like they might follow Oladota, but the Boomkin gets gouged as he's jumping down, which could be very bad since Mr. Q is still up top, not able to heal him right at the moment.
Yeah, man, I'm not quite sure about the positioning here, actually. The Boomkin jumping down and chasing them rather than just hitting a target that was on top of the bridge. I mean, that's pretty questionable. I mean, they're giving up the knockback. It looks like they're starting to slowly make their way. Now the Druid is actually sticking on the bottom. It's Hindycow that's making his way back to the top. He's got to be careful that he doesn't line of sight his Shaman right there. He is lining of sight his Shaman right now, and he's going to disperse there, man. I think that was actually a positional mistake by force that disperse. Yeah.
Mr. Q's just going to sit down and have a drink right in the middle of the bridge. I mean, right in the middle of the ramp, and Weeball is not going to let that happen for very long. So right now they're all bunched up. This is a good time for the Boomkin to drop his Starfall, and that's exactly what he does. He pushes forward towards Oladota a little bit, and tries to get a little bit of damage rolling on Oladota. And I think that spreading the damage to the Shaman, spreading the pressure to the Shaman, is a good idea, just like we've always said. But he does meet heals Bloodfang, and Weeball doesn't even make it, three-quarters, or doesn't even make it a quarter of the way across the bridge. Weeball does get knocked off, which is going to leave Bloodfang and Oladota alone by themselves, but Oladota is content to sit back on the other side of the bridge and take a drink. Meanwhile, Hindycow is taking ridiculous amounts of damage. I don't think his Disperse is back up from the last time he used it.
No, I don't think it is, man. A bit of CC coming out onto Mystic as well. There's a Psychic Horror, but the big Solar Beam is going to come out now, and that's going to force Weeball to just back off a little bit just to get out of that Solar Beam. But Hindical still getting sat on it. A triple fear comes out onto getting back cash, and Hindical still pretty much in it alone. I think Mystic is out of CC right now. He's going to be trying to land some big heals. Hindical sitting in a kidney shop. He's doing all he can to survive now. I think he's kiting down to the bottom side, and he's still so low. Not much CC coming out on him. Mystic really needs to start landing some big heals under him. The peels are coming out. Bloodfang takes a Cyclone from Druid, and Mystic instantly tremors the fear, and he's got to be looking to top up that priest right now because he is sitting so low, so dangerous. It's 1%. Yo-Yo's back up to 10%, 4%. He's sitting so low, man, and no heals coming out from Mystic that was significant enough to pick him up to a safe amount of HP.
Wow, I think that was the most offensive we have seen this RPS in the entire tournament. They felt like they really got their confidence together. They were able to lock down the Druid early, really not suffer a whole lot of dot pressure, finally switch the pressure over to the Shadow Priest, and the Boomkin had to make a decision. He had to either heal or CC, neither of which are damage. So the Shadow Priest wasn't able to deal damage. The Boomkin wasn't able to deal damage because he was trying to heal and peel. And as a result of that, the Shadow Priest and the Rogue were able to just continue to exert the pressure, continue to force the Doomkin cleave further and further back across the bridge, get way too bunched up, and there is some really clutch CC on Mystic right there at the end to make sure that the Shadow Priest couldn't get topped off. Very exciting game.
That offensive play, man. We haven't seen that all tournament from the FPS, but they've came out all guns blazing in the final, so they're going to go 1-0 up against getting back cash.
That was the most offensive we'd seen the RPS, and that was the most defensive we'd seen the Boomkin team. That was pretty interesting. All right, let's cue it up. Let's get ready to rock. All right, guys, we're back with Game 2 of the Molten International Tournament Finals. Last game we saw the RPS take a 1-0 lead against the Doomkin squad, which is not their actual name. It's getting back cash, but still I like calling them the Doomkin squad. So we saw the most offensive play we've seen from the RPS yet. They started off strong on the Boomkin, really locking down the damage, making a switch later on to the Shadow Priest once the team was forced so defensive that the Boomkin had to help off-heal and CC in order to keep the team alive. But the continuous pressure and the lack of pressure from the Doomkin squad was able to get the RPS to win. On this map, there is no Z-axis. It could change things, but I think it might even change things just in the favor of the RPS. But we'll see. Here we go. Yeah,
man. I think we really need to see getting back cash lining up a lot more dots onto Oladora because he was free, as we saw. I mean, we both picked up on it. He was free to just spam out those heals and spam out dispels mainly as well because they were hitting the Shadow Priest for quite some time. Whenever they went on the Druid, they were just locking down the VTs, making sure they didn't go out as much as possible. But right now they're starting really hard under the Druid with the fear on the Shadow Priest, so no peels, no off heals, no shields coming in from him right now. Druid's still sitting on 40% actually, and Mystic isn't going to get off any heals. He's sitting in a Hex. I think he got instantly dispelled by his Druid there. That was really good play. Still sitting around 50%. Not many dots taken on the enemy team, it's got to be said. The Druid's still taking quite a bit of pressure. The Priest put into another fear, Hindical, and Druiden's in this alone right now with Healer sitting in a Psychic Horror. And now he's in a kidney shot, man. This pressure is just unrelenting from this FPS. They want to force as many cooldowns as possible. He's dropping to 50% solo. He goes bare form desperately, and it looks like he's going to be okay out of that.
Yeah, I think Mystic could take a page from Oladada's book and actually try to find a way to get away from all that combat. He's taking so much off CC from the Rogue, and if whenever he dispels somebody with VT up, he's going to get feared. So he might try to find some way to pillar, but I know that his team has to chase the RPS around the pillars to try to get some damage up, but they're just constantly pulling them out of LOS of Mystic, and when Mystic has to try to run in to help, he ends up eating all kinds of fears and kicks and gouges from the Rogue, so it's a really rough position to be in, to be this clustered up against RPS.
That's exactly right, man. He just sat in another full Hex there. Druiden couldn't even get the dispel because he was being sat on so heavily by the RPS. They're getting some counter damage now onto the Rogue. That's going to be fairly easily healed up, but having said that, Oladora's actually fully dotted up now. I think a Star Sage actually just landed on him. So he's taking a bit of pressure now with the Hex out onto the Rogue. They're freaked out, they dot up everything. This is the opportunity that I think getting back cash really needs to take a hold of. Spread as many dots as possible, activate that Cyclone, and just lock out as many heals as possible.
I think you're absolutely right. I think hitting the Shaman, focusing your damage on the Shaman while letting the dots tick on the DPS is an excellent strategy. Really pressure that Shaman, make the Shaman decide whether to heal themselves or try to keep the rest of the team alive. And if you can do that right, the entire team can rock, and you'll have that damage advantage that I think this Boomkin Shadow Priest team really needs in order to be effective. Because once they start falling behind, that's when the RPS really has nothing to be afraid of. If there's no VTs, if there's no Boomkin dots, there's not anything that they have to be concerned with, and they're able to go completely offensive and do things like get Hindikau to pop his dispersion.
Yeah, spotted that there as well, man. They're actually getting pretty good spread pressure up themselves. Druid hasn't been able to be topped up. That last 25% of his health that is missing, and they're just going to be sitting on Hindikau now, knowing that he's got no disperse, and any kind of CC chain on Mystic could actually be fatal if Druid isn't an absolute legend at peeling. They're going to be sitting on Hindikau right now. He's sitting around 40%. Cheap Shot goes out on the Mystic. I think that was to CC. They're not actually swapping onto him. He gets off a huge heal there. I think that was actually an NS. Hindikau still in a kidney shot. And that's it, man. Look, if you look at all the dots on Neverkick's team, there are no vampiric touches up at all. So that means Oladora is free to dispel all of those Druid dots. He gets a VT up on Oladora right now, but apart from that, man, there's no pressure at all going out on the RPS team right now.
I can see Drudern really trying to make an effort to make it to Oladada and really establish that pressure that we've been talking about. But as a result, he keeps getting caught by this rogue, and right now he's taking so much damage. He knocks them away towards Mistrick. Hopefully Mistrick doesn't just get CC'd. He does. He gets gouged there and is able to have a full reopen on Drudern. Although nice root by Drudern. Going to be able to kite away just a little bit, but he can't really seem to escape this rogue. The perma-slow and the stuns and the CC, he can't get out any damage. He is going to get life grip, and he's going to get a little bit of a knockback, which could buy him a little bit of time on his life, save it at this point. But man, every time he tries to get to Oladada, the peels from Bloodfang and Weeball are ridiculously good. The Boomkin usually, if he can apply some dots, the dots usually aren't that devastating because of the lack of the vampiric touch and the lack of the priest support, but he also ends up usually going down to about 1/4 health every time he tries to get over there. I think that what they're doing right now, trying to pull him out into the open.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's in a really good position now, actually. They're trying to, I think, coax the rogue out into the open. They're doing a pretty good job of that and landing a lot of damage on him as a result. But Oladora is in such a good defensive position, I don't think they can actually land any significant amount of CC on him. Instead, a smoke bomb is going to go down onto Druid, but he's on stun DR now, man. They stunned him inside of that, so he's going to pop that Starfall. He knows that he can't be peeled. They're going for this big spread damage. They need to really get more dot spread, I think, before doing that, because they're not forcing a huge amount of AE pressure. I mean, I feel like they could have forced a hell of a lot more if maybe just a few more dots to up. I mean, Bloodfang completely clean of hots. Oladora is cleared off his own hots, so it's really only Weeball who's got any kind of dots on him, and even that's about to expire, so I don't know, man. Getting back cash isn't getting the same amount of pressure that they've got in every game so far this tournament.
Not quite getting as much cash from this game, but they will be getting cash 100% because they're in the finals. Just whether or not they want to get the full 450 prize winning is going to be determined here. I'm really impressed with how well this RPS is able to peel for their Shaman. Because, like we've talked about before, the RPS has fought a lot of caster cleaves and a lot of dot cleaves in this tournament. And we've always talked about how it's so important to be able to pressure the healer when applying those dots, because damage over time spells, them by themselves, it's not that hard to heal through unless you find yourself under a lot of control. And the positioning of Oladada has been supreme this entire match. Hindikau goes down so low, he disperses at a minuscule amount of health. Druden and Hindikau get feared and might be just a shadow word death away from death itself.
Oh, dude. I think we're going to have to replay that game. Mistrick actually fell through the ground.
Where did Mistrick go?
I just saw his nameplate tumbling down into nothing. I was trying to spot where he was going, but yeah, he was falling to the center of the earth right there, man. So I think we're going to have to replay this game.
And we'll replay that one. How like, what was the time between where he fell and when they died? Just curious. I mean, we'll replay it for sure, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching the positioning. I was like, oh, he's dead, and where's his healer? All right, no worries. Let's do it. Uh-oh. Sorry, my cat's just causing a ruckus. But regardless of what my cats are doing, we are back in the redo of Game 2 of the finals of the Molten International Tournament. Last game, we saw some really, really convincing pressure from the RPS, and the Doomkin comp wasn't looking such like they were in such good position. However, I think that since the Shaman did fall through the map, and since we've been pretty consistent on map-based errors causing the outcome of the match, we will just redo this game in the interest of fairness. But if things go similarly to the way the last game went, then we should just be just fine in terms of the fairness equation. But we're gonna get started here.
I think it's down to them VTs, man, actually. Thinking back to the previous game, it was, well, not only the lack of dots in the healer, because the RPS was doing such a good job of peeling, which we noticed quite a lot, but the lack of VTs out on the team meant that even when the Druid did Starfall, it wasn't all that effective, because Oladora was able to dispel what dots were on his team without any kind of punishment, and also whenever the Druid pops a Starfall, there's some amazing peels going on to him, man. Like in one of the games he was blinded into a sap, so it was really awesome stuff, man. They're really taking care of that Druid, making sure he doesn't get that huge spread damage up.
They've either encountered Boomkins in Arena before, or they've been watching the tournament and they realize that this Boomkin is not something to be left alone. They've got to stop the Boomkin damage. When you're popping Boomkin cooldowns, anytime you see a Boomkin cast Starfall, you immediately, charge. I remember back again, it was charge, throwdown. You've got to stop this guy. You've got to get him into fear. You got to do something to stop that Starfall, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And speaking of a lot of trouble, we do see Hindikau dropping down to about 30% health. See if he can get topped off. Mistrick is actually on the complete opposite side of the pillar of him. It's probably trying to avoid some CC, but he needs to peek out and give him some healing, or he's just going to go down. We do see Mistrick get feared into the wall and gouged out of that. Hindikau not able to get any healing here, somehow surviving off maybe just his pre-shields and maybe his Druden heals. But alright, so the Starfall comes out. Druden knocks the entire opposite team back, so hopefully he won't get killed on that Starfall. But he does actually probably get silenced, looks like. He's going to have to drop the silence of his own. Not really catching anybody in that silence, but I guess it's more of a peel for his Shadow Priest, that if anybody wants to go in this.
Yeah, man, we saw again, he used that Starfall again, man, without any real dots up. It's a real questionable usage of such a powerful cooldown when you combine it with all that spread pressure that you can already have rolling from the dots. I mean, they're stacking up a lot of dots right now onto Bloodfang with the Cyclone on Oladora, and this is more like what we've seen, I think, from Getting Back Cash. We've got dots rolling on both the Priest and the Rogue right now. Both Smoke Bomb is going to come out straight away. They want to stay really offensive, but Bloodfang is also dropping so much damage on him. He's still around 30% health. Oladora's not able to top him up. He's just camping out behind that pillar. I don't think he wants to show his face for fear of being CC'd. Now the Rogue's hiding behind him. Weeball's closely following. Now the Soul Beam would have been formidable, man. If he used the Soul Beam right there, that would have been a triple beam on the entire team of Never Kick. But regardless, Oladora's getting CC changed. He was hexed into a Fear. The Fear managed to break just from damage, but the Hex is going to persist on him, so we've got to see what these dots can do, man. They've only got dots really now on Weeball with Shadow Priest, so I think they really need to get them spread again.
Yeah, there was one moment there where we sort of saw the Boomkin do what they have done this entire tournament. They sort of flip a switch and deal a lot of damage, but right now Druden's going to get turned on, and it seems like he almost died there. I don't see, like, simply for the way the damage was dealt by the Boomkin, in a moment, the damage was just returned right back to him. I don't know. This is crazy, man. I haven't seen a game this back and forth from these guys yet, but so far, this is actually more of a matchup than has... Okay, there is a potentially good Solar Beam, but they just walk right out of it. He's got to find a way, maybe to use that Solar Beam after he's got pressure established, rather than trying to establish pressure with the Solar Beam.
Yeah, the Starfall came out again. They got really good damage on Weeball, but he was the only one who was really dotted. I think it's so important that they line up all of their dots and then just pop the Starfall, because that is what's destroyed all of their previous opponents, And now it looks like the RPS is going for a full reset. I think that dot's about to fall off the Rogue. The Insect Swarm, he's going to be able to get a reset. Nope, he's going to get the dots applied straight back on him as soon as he shows his face. And looks like they're going to be hitting Hindikau right now. Maybe trying to stop those VTs from coming out, keep things easy for their Shaman, which is what really I think their tactics been for the past couple of games. Just trying to keep the dispels easy for him. He's just spamming out those dispels, trying to keep his team from suffering too much spread pressure, and looking at the health bars, man, he's doing an amazing job actually.
Drudern was casting some Wraths and then ran out to the middle to try to hard cast a Cyclone on Oladata and immediately gets punished for it. Brought down to about 20% health, still taking some
silence
shadow.
on Mystric, and he's just gonna go right down there. As soon as he dropped that low, man, that silence landed on Mystric, and he had no answer for that, man. Wow.
Wow, he got caught, man. They shut down the VTs, and just like we've seen before, without VT, the Boomkin dots really don't do much. So he tried to, I think, cast some Wrath to see if he could still have his damage output be something useful for his team. Casting the Wraths, steps forward, tries to cast the clone, fakes it a couple times, gets switched to and demolished. Wow, 20% health versus this team, and your healer's in a silence like Mystric was. You're gonna get rocked by that Shadow Word Death. Wow, what a finish to that game. All right.
That's going to be 2-0, but of course, because seeing as though it's the final, this is the best of 5 games, so getting back cash, I don't know, man, they might get lucky with the map, they might get a Z-axis map all over again that could, you know, sway things their way. It's definitely not over. You know, we saw some pretty decent play for them there once they actually landed the Cyclone onto Oladata, and they got some pretty good spirit pressure, but they just couldn't hold on to it, man. We'll have to see how the next game goes.
Yeah, this is potentially match point unless the Doomkin squad can show us something special. All right, guys. This is Game 3 of the finals. We've seen the RPS take a 2-0 lead here. This is potentially game point. This is potentially the very last game of the Molten International Tournament here. Unless we can see something special from the Doomkin squad, this is going to be an exciting last match. This map could very well decide it all. Let's see what happens.
It's a really interesting map as well, though, man. There's not as many places to run and hide on this map, so this could actually go in the favour of getting back cash if they're going to have plenty of line of sight, plenty of time to line up as many dots as possible. It's just their positioning and, you know, pushing in to get those dots on Oladata that they're really, really going to have to be careful of, because this is the RPS that as soon as you push out of position, the smoke bomb goes down, and we've seen it time and time again, and it's been really, really effective from them so far.
Yeah. So hopefully, what they've been unable to do, unfortunately, in the past couple of games is apply dots to the Shaman. And I think that's probably one of the key factors of them winning this game, if that's something that they're going to be able to do. We do see the first smoke bomb come out of Bloodfangs Jr., dealing pretty good damage to Drudern, maybe forcing some cooldowns. Big Fear comes out, which allows them to continue to deal damage to the Boomkin. Although not as much damage out of that smoke bomb as perhaps they would have liked. Bloodfangs Jr. now is going to be the focus of the Shadow Priest. He's taking a little bit of damage. Drudern trying to spread around some Star Surge procs, really start to wear the team down. They definitely need to get to Oladata, but the peels of Bloodfang are just too detrimental to that task. And every time they try to overextend for that, what's happening right now happens where Drudern starts to get down to 50% health. Really can't even move, can't get away from this rogue. He's gonna drop the silence and just Starfall out of desperation. It's starting to do a little bit of damage. He's not getting peeled as well. Hops into travel form for a second. Still is really, really scarily low health. Gets topped a little bit, but as much damage as they're, you know, the cooldowns are coming out just like they always have throughout the tournament. They're just not as effective as they have been. And that's kind of rough to see. They got to figure something out. They got to find some way to bring this game back, or they're going to be eliminated from this tournament right here, right now.
Yeah, maybe some crowd control on the road, man, just to let the priest get up those VTs. I think those VTs absolutely essential. As you can see, there are no VTs. So right now, I think he's really got to do that, and then maybe pop the Starfall. Because of course, this is match point, man. If they never get kicked, if they win this, they're going to win $1,250. It's all the play for both sides, to be honest. Getting back cash is playing for survival now, so they've really got to up their game, you know, and yeah, show this RPS, give them some kind of a response.
Yeah, man, we talked about the VTs all match, and in a lot of these games, we've had a lot of Shadow Priest dot cleaves, and those VTs are so important, especially for a Boomkin, because you've got no dispel protection of your own, and if your dots just get all dispelled, and there's really, you know, all these globals that you're using, all this damage you're trying to put out really isn't very effective. And the RPS, as great of a job they've been doing healing, it's really rough for this Boomkin to try to find a way to have his Shadow Priest get some VTs off, because if he decides to start spamming Cyclones, that's a situation where there's no damage coming out for the entire team if the Shadow Priest gets locked down. Drudern sitting at around 30% health, does get feared on that Cyclone. Indicow sitting in a fear as well. Oh, Drudern, they're chasing him. They've got blood in the water right now, trying to cast a Cyclone, just like we've been talking about, trying to get some VPs off. But we do see nice shears coming out from Oladata, really denying those VTs even further. Drudern getting focused here, dropping health steadily. Mistrik trying to keep him up, trying to cast some heals, but is just getting pummeled by CC while Drudern gets pummeled by damage.
I think that's the defensive soul beam coming out there, man, with the blanket stance under Mistrik. Drudern's in the cheap shot, man. He's taking so much pressure there. It's not letting up on him. They're not letting him stack any dots at all. And I think that this, I don't know, man. I think that this is the time that Hindicow should be free casting. He should try and trust his healer, maybe try and just get out as much counter pressure as possible, so that when this decisive Starfall comes out, they will have some kind of dispel protection, some kind of a buffer, so the damage can't just be so easily prevented with the spam of spells. And that's a blind on a Mistrik. He's managed to get out of that, but Drudern's still sitting around 50%. They just don't want to let this bounce Druid do anything, basically. As soon as he pushes in on Oladata, who has had barely any dots on him all game as a result of some really good defensive play from the RPS, yeah, they're not getting to do anything. In fact, the Shadow Priest has managed to get dots up onto Oladata, but because his team is so topped off and there's not that much spread pressure, he's able to dispel the VT without any real consequence, and he's back to line of sighting again.
This is about the time of the game where they do make that switch, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if they do continue their pressure on Hindicow. Weeball is down about 50% health. This is the lowest we've seen anybody on the RPS's team so far this game. They did exactly what you were talking about. They got a few VTs up. They dropped the silence with the Starfall, and they were able to get a little bit of damage out, but it really was nothing fatal or even close to it. 50% health is not super scary, especially because they didn't have the enemy shaman in any sort of CC. So we're going to see here if the RPS is going to be able to turn this pressure around. They may have poked the beast here. They popped all of their offensive cooldowns, Boomkin did, and now they might be in a position where they're not going to be able to recover from it. But we'll see, because Weeball is over in no man's land, getting hit by some treants. Meanwhile, Drudern is fighting against the Rogue, so we're not seeing a whole lot of focus from the RPS team right now. But and I think that a lack of focus might actually be able to help the dot cleave if they can find some way to CC the healer at least. But right now, we're seeing Oladata come out for really good wind shears on Mistrik, a big fear on Mistrik, which he does Tremor Totem, and we're seeing Drudern and Weeball. They're not really getting topped off here. This is a pretty good situation for the Boomkin Cleave to be in right now. We'll see if they can actually capitalize off of this Weeball being so low. If they do force a disperse, this would be pretty good. All right, they got a big AoE silence on him. If they can continue the pressure out of the disperse, they might have a chance at this.
And definitely, man, Drudern, while still sitting really low himself, his health is yo-yoing between 50 and 30%. He's gradually dropping down. The Shadow Priest channeling that Mind Flow onto him. He's still at around 50% HP. Not much CC actually landing on Mistrik. They just seem content to keep hitting the Druid, shut down as much damage as they can. The Starfall comes out, Seeds immediately peeled with the Psychic Horror. That's what I'm talking about, man. If they lock him down, put him out of control of his character, the Starfall does nothing. He's got instant Star Surge procs, but there are no dots at all going out on Never Get Kicked. This getting back cash has been forced defensive for the majority of the game, and the only times they've got off pressure is when they line up a really good Starfall, which we see drop most of Never Get Kicked's team down to around 50%, but every time, man, they've been able to recover, and they seem content to just keep hitting the DPS, keep shutting down Never Getting Back Cash's damage. They shut down just as much of that damage as possible. Things aren't going to end well now for this Doc group.
Yeah, they've been Getting Back Cash has actually been forced defensive this entire series. They were so offensive, just so dominant in every other matchup, but they finally met a team that can shut down their damage well enough. And right now we do see Hindicow hovering around 60% health, Drudern around the same amount of health, and the RPS completely full health. One of the things that's happened recently is that all the teams have been so grouped up, but we just see a huge fear, which puts the members of the Boomkin Cleave Getting Back Cash in completely triangulated opposite sides of the map, which allows Bloodfang to drop a smoke bomb.
The Hex came out under Mistrik, man. They were feed opposite sides of the tomb, and that's exactly what we saw earlier on in the tournament. The same thing happened to a DK that was unfortunate enough to be feed to the opposite side of the tomb to his healer against Never Get Kicked, and they immediately called those swapping in. We've just seen an exact replica of what happened in that game again here in the finals.
That was a beautiful fear. I had bird's eye view of that, and as soon as that fear came out, I was like, oh no. They set it up perfect. Huge fear. Kidney bomb on Drudern. And just like that, the Molten International Tournament comes to a close with Never Kicked being our first place winner and getting back cash despite losing this game. They are still second place, also winning a pretty sizable amount of money if you ask me, getting $750 for second place. But Never Kicked, our first place winners, get $1,250 and an in-game title of Arena Master. So congratulations to you guys. Thank you so much, all the competitors. And of course, thank you so much, all of the viewers. This has been an awesome tournament. Really excited to be a part of it and really appreciative of being able to hang out with all of you guys and all these epic arena matches.
Man, Never Get Kicked was like a totally different team. I've not seen that FPS play like that for the entire tournament, but man, it's like they rose to the occasion, you know? They got to the finals, and it was like they just thought to themselves, right, let's just go for it, you know? I mean, they must have seen the kind of damage that the Doom King was putting out in the previous games and just thought that they had to meet it head on, and that's exactly what they did, so...
Yeah, man. They turtled pretty hard to get there. Once I guess they sort of reached the point where like, hey man, we're gonna win something no matter what. Let's do this. And I definitely think that they probably studied a little bit of the tournament leading up to their final match and saw that, man, these guys are no joke about their damage. We got to make sure that we're shutting them down at all times, and that's what they did. And they got a nice 3-0 clean sweep and ended up winning the tournament. So that was awesome.
Yeah, man, a 3-0 sweep for the FBS, and I guess that's going to close out the tournament. Yeah. Any last words, man?
This was a blast. I think Molten is planning on hosting these tournaments fairly regularly. There will be one in the coming months. I think I heard it was either in May or June. So May. All right. So we'll be definitely letting you guys know when the next one is. But as for today, this Wrath of the Lich King yesterday and Cataclysm today brings this section of the Molten International Tournament to a close. Like I said, it's been an absolute joy hanging out with you guys, bringing you some awesome arena, and had a blast doing the commentary. It's fun hanging out with you guys, and thank you so much for watching. Thanks again to the competitors. Thanks to Molten for hosting this awesome event, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.